Steve, and this is your life. If you're here, this is your life. It was from some show, televised programming show from, I don't know, could have been the 50s, could have been the 60s. It's interesting to think that in the 50s, and I can't remember when it was, but at some point my father brought a TV into the house, and I don't know, there were 3 or 4 channels, and sometimes they were fuzzy, and sometimes tubes would burn out, and my father worked for an electronics company. They had a tube tester, and he would bring home the tube tester, and he would pull out tubes and put them in the tube tester and see if they worked. And he'd put them back in, and he'd pull out another one and see if it worked. And eventually he'd find the one that didn't work, and then he'd have to get that tube and replace it. I mean, people did this at home on their own. I mean, people like my dad, who worked for an electronics company and can get a tube tester. Ancient history, really. Although at least I can say I was a kid in the 50s, and I can now say that I was a kid in the 20s. Because this is the 20s. It's a different 20s than the other 20s. It's 100-year later 20s. So, good morning again, or good afternoon or good evening, depending on your location in time and space. So today I relied on my spirit guide, on my friend on other levels, Arlen, my handler. Really, that's I'm starting to think of Arlen as my handler. But I said, in my mind, communicating with someone who's, maybe hovering around, making sure I don't mess up. I said, would you help me pick a card today for the world? And immediately picked a card, and I think it's a good card for the world. So here's your card, world, because you're part of the world. So here's the card. The Ace of Swords. So today, children, I guess this is kind of like a television program. And I guess there's some programming, because basically I want the highest good for you. And for you want the highest good for all of you. But I don't have a construct of what that is. So what I do is I just offer you options to look at, to try, to see how they work for you. If you don't feel like trying them, then don't try them, because it's like somebody says, yeah, it's not like this, but it could be like this. Somebody says to me, and they said this to me as a child, taste this, see if it's gone bad. That was the way you tested things. Has this milk gone bad? It's like, why would I want to taste it if you have any thought that it's gone bad? It just didn't make any sense to me. That's because I used what was called then the old noggin. I don't know where the term noggin came from, but now this is an older noggin. So we got the Ace of Swords, and I just began in this book, this lovely book, Finding the Fool, Tarot Journey to Radical Transformation by Meg Jones Wall. So there's an advertising for Meg. Hopefully she'll find this video of someone who really loves her book. Because people love being loved for what they write and what they do. It's, I think, part of human nature. So she writes about the suit of swords. So it's kind of like playing cards in a way. In playing cards, there's 1 through 10, and in playing cards, there's a jack, queen, king, ace, um, and whatever else there are. There's 52 in that, and I think there's 78 in a tarot deck. And the suit of swords, there's swords, which have to do with the mental realm. There's cups, which have to do with the emotional realm. There's wands that have to do with creativity, which can be body, mind, emotions. Creativity just spirit covers it all. And then there's discs or pentacles, which have to do with the things that we own. Like, for example, many of you have seen this hoodie before, because I wear it frequently in my video making, because it's the thing that I put on first thing in the morning when I come out of the dream world. And it's not like I'm in a hurry to get out of the dream world, but I'm glad to get out of the dream world, because there's transformation taking place. And transformations is great, but you can only take so much of it at a time. So we're going to start off, and I'm going to read to you from the book about the suit of swords. And so swords, the mind, relate to the air. And it's about logic, pragmatism, information, communication, knowledge, and it's associated with the mind. And here are her lovely words, just written so well. Moving with speed and awareness, the airy suit of swords analyzes our personal intellect. The questions we pose, the viewpoints we take, the methods that we use to gather and process information, and our ever-evolving relationship with truth. Ever-evolving relationship with truth. Within the suit of swords, we find themes of authenticity, ambition, pragmatism, logic, wisdom, strategy, boundaries, discernment, rationality, understanding, and problem solving. With a sharpened blade and a perceptive outlook, this suit allows us all that our minds can do. As an element, air is transparent, not always easy to perceive, sometimes still and quiet, while other times swirling, agitated, mighty in its invisible force. We so often see it tangled with other elements, since air can impact everything else with its keen authority and ability to disrupt. Air can be sharp, pointed, helping us move to a precise location. But it can also bluster, confuse, or disorient, depending on how clear and calm it is. The element of air is tied to our intellectual self, our sense of truth and perspective, our communication style, our boundaries. This is the way we process and analyze the world, the methods that we use to decide what to let in and where to protect ourselves. Air gives us the rationality we rely on to understand, consider, and make decisions. Just like our minds, air interrogates ideas of truth and justice, intellect and analysis, but can easily drift into secrecy, harshness, or a lack of sensitivity. Mirroring many of these concepts, the Suit of Swords explores the decisions and choices that follow a flash of insight and understanding as we choose a path, confront internal and external truths, set boundaries, move forward with purpose, gain confidence in our strength, and experience isolation or doubts. Swords help us recognize how strong we can be, the things we are able to conquer and overcome, the ways that the rational mind balances problem solving, perception, and interrogation. So as I was reading these words, and I was thinking of these words as I read them, I heard a little hint, that voice inside our head, if you have that voice. And I could tell by the sound of that voice that it was Arlen making a suggestion. And Arlen's suggestion was, read this from the heart. And I felt pain when he suggested that. I was reading it from the intellect, which can be separate from feeling. And so I take the advice of my guides when it seems like, it could be something I could learn. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to read this from the heart. So I'm going to take away this separation of my mind and my heart and allow myself to go in to my heart, to go into my feeling realm while I read about the mind. See if it changes for you. I'll see if it changes for me. This suit contextualizes our experiences, empowering us to analyze our decisions, to recognize what stimulates and activates us, and to consider the consequences of our decisions, actions, and ideas. At its core, this suit tells the story of understanding the self, the narratives that shape our identity, and the ways that we make choices. And just reading those couple sentences from the heart, I go into a place of deeper pain. That's just me. That's not what needs to happen for you. If it's your experience, you go, I did that. I took away this separation of my mind and my heart. I allowed myself to come out of my mind, go out of your mind, and allow yourself to drop in to the heart, to the feeling realm, to the emotions, to the water, to the cups, and notice what happens. And what happens is that I feel more. So right now, I'm just going to do that because Arlen suggested it, and Arlen's a guide. So I experiment with what are the things that are suggested to me, even if they feel uncomfortable. Just like a storm, and I totally relate to this in a painful way. Just like a storm can leave destruction in its wake, the Suit of Swords brings up a lot of challenging questions, emotions, and triggers. Apparently. So can you do this? Can you see another person in a moment in pain? And can you just hold space? Or do you have to go in and feel that pain? It's not right or wrong. noticing what you do. And know that you can change what you do. Like a moment ago, I was in the deep waters of emotion. And then I went into kind of teacher mode. What you can do when you're in the deep waters of emotion. And so I can be your guide, and I am a guide who has a guide. And my guide's guiding me while I may be guiding you to have experiences. And it may be that I'm just avoiding the emotions by talking because they're very deep. So you can observe me in emotion from an intellectual, mental place, like, oh, he's got some issues, or whatever you make up. Like, oh, that looks really painful. I'm going to avoid that. Whatever you make up. Because we're making it up. And depending on what we're making up about ourselves, that is how we work in the world. So I'm going to read these words again. That's kind of triggered me. And the words were about triggering, I think. Just like a storm can leave destruction in its wake. And have you ever done that? Just left destruction in your wake? The Suit of Swords brings up a lot of challenging questions, emotions, and triggers. These cards tackle intensely personal issues like mental illness, nightmares, harmful words, and destructive beliefs. Forcing us to confront the ways that fear, anxiety, frustration, and isolation influence our perspectives on ourselves, our ambitions, and our communities. Negative thought patterns can be absolutely devastating, and it takes a lot of strength, courage, and support to confront them. While it's not always easy to be truly honest with ourselves, this suit encourages us to be authentic about what we want and what we are capable of, to balance any harsh truths with compassion. You can just watch when a person decides they're going to go in. You watch their lips quiver. These energies start to come up. These energies are in there. These energies need to come to the surface. But you need to feel safe enough to let them. And it takes practice. Not everybody just hopped on a bike and were able to ride it. There was some just fine balancing that took place. And every once in a while, before you developed that fine balancing, off you went. Down you went. Skinned your knees. And you got back up again and you said, I'm not riding a bike. Or, I need to practice. Same with the emotions. We're dealing with the Suit of Swords, which is about the mental realm. But the mental realm can be what controls the emotional realm. And sometimes it controls it by just saying, I'm not having any of that. You might have had a parent that said, I'm not having any of that. Or you might have had a parent that said, he's such a crybaby. I might have had that parent, and that parent was probably the male parent. Men don't cry. Whatever their beliefs were, they inflicted those beliefs on others. Could have been you, could have been me. What's he crying about now? You might be asking that right now, because I'm just reading words from a page in a book. And these tears are coming. And these tears are mine, because they're coming from me. But these tears also may be in relationship to you, because you haven't had someone that said, I'm going to be with you in these emotions. I'm going to be with you in these difficult times. And I can't stop you from having the experience you have, but I can be with you while you have that experience. And just feeling that, feeling heard, feeling felt, feeling sensed, feeling like someone wants to know you at that deeper level and wants to hold a space for you that's not a space of criticism, not a space of someone feeling wrong about who you are, but feeling compassionate about your experiences. And when you're in this place of having these deeper experiences, be there deeper thoughts, deeper emotions, you can learn to pause and say to yourself, I accept you. I accept all of you. And we are here together, willing to change and grow and become all that's possible for us to be on all levels. Where were we? Where are we? This suit encourages us to be authentic about what we want and what we are capable of, to balance any harsh truths with compassion, kindness, and gentleness. Wouldn't that be nice? Isn't that nice? So wouldn't that be nice if we put it in the future? Isn't that nice as if we bring the future to now? And if we want to, we can say, hasn't that been nice? And put it in our past. So by putting it in the past, we've had it up to now. And we're now really working with just being in a self that accepts itself. We're all products of our environment and our experiences, learning as we go, doing the best we can with the information that we have at any given time. Suit of Swords may explore difficult topics, but it also reminds us to celebrate curiosity, understanding, and the ways that learning and growing can connect us to bigger, brighter concepts. As you investigate, I'm just taking in these words. So as I'm reading these words to you, I'm integrating these words into myself as an aspect of what it is that I want to be in the world. So I can hear these words and I can take them in. I can hear them separate from aspects of myself, from my body, from my emotions, from my spirit. I can just take it in as a head and go, oh, nice words, nice words. Oh, I don't like those words. Or I can take it in and embody it. As you investigate the Suit of Swords and the elements of air, consider perspective, awareness, inquisitiveness. What stories do you tell yourself? And I'm going to give one of those painful ones. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. I always fail. I try to do something and I fail. Or the words that my mother spelled me with. So words can be a spell placed on us. My mother's words were, there isn't anything in the world that you are not capable of doing. I've lived under that spell. I never wanted that spell to go away. So sometimes we get a spell that you never do anything right. That was another spell that was given to me. And I thought, that's just not true. But the one that said, you can do anything. And if you want to expand it, you can do anything well. And if somebody gives you just $1, just $1 for doing it, you then become a professional. So people have already given me $1. I'm not suggesting this, so don't get, I already got the dollar. I'm already a professional. You don't need to send me $1, so just get that. $5 more and we'll win the election. Oh wait, you said $5 more you'd win the election, and you didn't. What happened? Because it wasn't about $5 more. It was about how authentic are you, whether people like it or not. Do you appear to be speaking the truth? And what is it that the majority, so slightly over half, or slightly over a percentage of people that actually voted, which may not even be close to half the population. Maybe it's 10% of the population. I just don't know. I don't study these things. But the people said, we want major arcana for now, for the next 4 years. And that may have triggered some thoughtfulness, and it may have triggered some emotions, and it may have triggered some curiosity and some excitement and some possibility, or it may have triggered a doom or gloom feeling. And it just depends to accept what it triggered for you. But to speak about the world you want to see. It may be a world of compassion, curiosity, maybe a world more kind. And so, if you want a world more kind, be more kind. If you want a world more peaceful, be more peaceful. And go into these emotions and release these deep feelings of betrayal and fear and grief and anger. The anger one is has been an issue for me in the past. Dealing with anger, suppressing anger, and then just feeling anger. And it's like, can I make the choice to let my anger go? I'm not going to let it go. I'm not going to let it go. I have the right to feel this anger. It's righteous anger. Okay. How does it feel? How does your neck feel? How free and flowing, and what movement do you have? Because that, what we call anger, is a suppression of energy. Let's let it up without it having to get to an explosive place where we injure those around us through letting it up in a violent way. I was thinking this was going to be a really short video. Apparently not. What stories do you tell yourself, and how often do those stories change? How do your perceptions shape your choices, and how might they limit them? Who do you believe yourself to be, and where did those ideas come from? How are boundaries useful, and when are they harmful? I am going to have that be a video on the Suit of Swords, and then I'm going to do the video on the Ace of Swords for today. So now I must go.